Hello there. Hey everyone. Welcome to this live read live stream of this unreleased Star Wars sequel. As mentioned in the description, it was a version of The Empire Strikes Back before it became The Empire Strikes Back. If you look down here, the script was originally written by someone named Lee Brackett. I actually looked her up, and apparently she's very prominent in the science fiction world, or like the space opera world, something like that. But the point is, she's a well-known author, and she was the one who wrote the first draft of this sequel. Now, something to keep in mind about this script is that there are two versions of it, and what I mean by that is you've got the PDF version, which is like, a photocopied version of the original script. And as you can see, it's written by what I assume was a typewriter. And in addition to that, you can see like little bits and pieces of notes, like handwritten right here, along other things. Yeah, and you also see like words crossed out and replaced with handwritten words as well. And so I figured that would be a little cumbersome for me to read out loud. So fortunately, there's also a transcript version. Someone actually was kind enough to make a version where it's completely retyped out, and so you can read everything a lot more efficiently. And there's even some small notes here and there. Like for instance, italics represent handwritten lines in the script or in the margins. Hang on. Italics represent handwritten lines in the script or in the margins, right there. And crossouts represent typed lines which were X'd out with a typewriter or crossed out by hand, but which were still legible. Totally illegible X'd out lines have been left out of the transcription. So yeah, you get the idea with all these other things. But the point is like, the script is now 100% legible, and so I'm going to be using this for the live stream. That way it's a lot more efficient and I don't struggle to read anything. So yeah, maybe I can like zoom it in a bit more. Oh, I thought it would, like make it a bit wider too. Like you see how there's all this space right here? I thought it would like, make it a bit wider that way, but evidently not, because see, look, as I put it in a lot closer, it just makes everything bigger, and it just makes everything stay within this space right here. It doesn't expand it over here either. Oh, that reminds me, I should probably keep an eye out for any kind of comments. Cool. Also click there. This way I'll be able to see if anyone has left a comment. Although I don't want to get too obsessed with like, anyone who's watching or whatever. Because the point of these live read live streams is to have fun. And my hope is that you guys are having fun as well. Oh, wow. That was weird. So, yeah, as usual, we're just gonna, kick back for a few minutes or so, wait for some people to show up and make their presence known in the comments, in the chat. Because, one of the things that I live for when it comes to these live streams is hearing you guys, type in the chat so that, we can talk, because this is supposed to be a very casual setting, not like super professional per se, but, kind of, just a bunch of friends like hanging out in a virtual space, if you will. And I figured that, these things that I read are it's kind of a theme, if you will, for these kinds of little kind of hangouts that we have. I mean, I know I have these things called hangouts, which have nothing to do with any kind of thing that I read to you all, but I still like to think of these live streams as a kind of hangout, and I'm just, sharing this cool bit of literature with you all. I hope everyone here has had a great weekend. I've There's been a lot of stuff happening on my part, stuff related to auditioning and my agent, and I'm still working on cleaning my room. And yeah, I've got a lot of work to do, but I'm definitely feeling like, I've got a lot more responsibilities now. Not that I didn't have them before, but I'm just saying that, life is kind of pushing me in that direction right now. I guess you could say that, I'm not used to like any sudden changes in my life, and when they do happen, I need time to adjust to it, if that makes any kind of sense, because I think it'll stress me out way too much if I immediately dive headfirst into a sudden change. It just makes me feel uneasy. And maybe there will come a point in which I'll be able to adapt to that kind of situation, but I'm not quite there yet. Wonder if you all can relate. Ooh, sorry about that. Sorry if you were wearing headphones. Mm-hmm. 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 Hey, let me just put on some chapstick. It says here that I have a good connection, which is always nice. Oh, forgot to mention that, last Saturday I was busy preparing for my trip to Anaheim, and in case you guys don't follow me on Instagram, I let you all know what happened then. But for those of you who have been left out, it was a fun little trip. I spent some time with my mom, and we got to experience a lot of really cool rides at Disneyland, including one that we've never been on before, but finally got a chance to do. It was Rise of the Resistance, the one at Galaxy's Edge, that part of the theme park. From what I understand, there are some things that, the ride is still not able to do due to COVID, but still. Oh, hey, DJ, how's it going? I'm glad you enjoyed them, DJ. I'm glad you enjoyed them. Oh, yeah, the ducks were really cute, dude. Like, really. Yeah, the tiny little ducks just following their mom. Yeah, it's kind of weird because, I mean, the ducks weren't weird, but like at the beginning of the trip, it was starting to drizzle at Disneyland, so it wasn't rain per se, but it was still water falling out of the sky. Binge all the Simpsons and Family Guy. Oh, wow. Dude, that. You need, like. What are you doing to prepare for that? What are you doing to prepare for binge watching all the Simpsons and Family Guy? Are you like setting a schedule? Are you planning out your bathroom breaks? Or I have a half term and summer holiday. So that's what you plan to do with during the summer is binge watch all of those shows. Those shows have been around forever. I mean, Simpsons more so. I think they've been around since the 80s, whereas Family Guy has been around since the early no, not the early 90s, late 90s, like close to the year 2000. Only takes a week. Oh, I reconnected with an old friend today. Oh, that's good. That's really good. That's always fun. How are they doing? When was the last time you talked with each other? Sorry for the weird pause right there. Oh, wait, hold on. I should probably scroll this back up. There we go. I appreciate the like. Here, I'll be right back. Wait, that's not it. Wait, is this it? Okay, I am back. So, how about we finally start getting this this show on the road, huh? So, anyway, this is Star Wars sequel. Screenplay by Lee Brackett. Fade in. Exterior, plain of ice planet, day. A sweeping dramatic shot of Luke Skywalker, mounted on a white snow lizard, racing across a white snowy landscape. Luke's scarlet curving plumes of snow rise from beneath the speeding paws of the lizard. All about in the distance, snow wraiths blow on the wind across a cruel and beautiful landscape, in the light of a strange sun. Exterior, low ridge, day. The low ridge rises from the plain like a long-backed dune of snow. Luke gallops up the slope into close shot and reins his lizard to a halt. Luke's face is protected by a masking helmet and goggles, but now he pushes up the goggles so we can see that it is indeed Luke. He looks keenly about at the land beyond the ridge. He carries a blaster on his right hip and his lightsaber on the left. Wait, what's this? Receive enough video to maintain smooth streaming. If you guys experience any technical difficulties on your end, please let me know in the chat. Anyway, Luke's POV. More of the lovely, cruel white country, apparently deserted except for the blown veils of snow. Dimly there appears Dimly there appears through these veils a formation of rocks or perhaps ice of exceptional beauty, catching points of fire from the sun. Back to Luke. He smiles and activates his helmet radio. Han? Come in, Han Solo. Cut to exterior plane, day, Han Solo. Han is mounted on a white snow lizard. Han is also mounted on a white snow lizard. He is galloping along another part of the plane, distinguished perhaps by some tumbled ice formations. He pulls up. Han Solo. He speaks into his helmet radio.
Yeah, Luke, what is it?
Luke. No sign of life. I'm at the North Ridge. How about you? Han Solo.
I'm at the cliffs. I haven't seen anything either. I guess the survey was right. The planet's clean. We might as well go back to base. I'll wait for you.
Luke. No, you go on. No use freezing to death. There's a pretty ice formation on the other side of the ridge. Want to get a closer look at it. Follow you in a few minutes.
Now wait a minute, Luke. Order said just to the ridge. Don't take any chances.
The helmet radio makes some angry squawking noises that cause Han to wince.
Okay. I was just asking you if you were...
The mic makes one final snarl and goes dead.
All right, I guess he's all right. Come on, my animated iceberg. Let's get back to where it's warm, or at least warmer.
He prods the lizard into motion and races away, cloak flying. Exterior ridge, day, Luke. Luke readjusts his helmet and goggles, looks off to the alluring ice formation, and starts jauntily off along the farther slope of the low bridge, angling his mount in a graceful curve. The scene is one of sheer beauty, both in motion and setting. Closer angle. A veil of snow blows across the slope, no different from any of the others. It momentarily obscures Luke and his mount, and suddenly, without warning, a gigantic form explodes out of the snow almost under the feet of the lizard, which screams and rears, throwing Luke. The monstrous shape, white on white against the snow cloud, we do not see it clearly except that it is huge and menacing, utters a weird and bestial groaning, like boulders grinding together in the bowels of a mountain. It strikes the lizard dead with one horrendous blow, breaking its neck. Half stunned by the fall, Luke staggers up and attempts to draw the blaster holstered at his hip. The snowman fetches him a blow across the face that would have taken part his head off had it not been for the helmet. Luke falls, loses blaster. He also has his lightsaber. Luke. He lies motionless in the snow, his helmet torn, goggles gone. One side of his face a mass of blood. Above him, obscure in the snow cloud, the white monster looks down at him, then bends and grasps him by one ankle and drags him away. Cut to exterior ice castle and approaches, day. The ice castle is a natural structure of great beauty with fantastic domes and spires, much akin to the one that lured Luke into trouble, only larger. No banners fly from its battlements. There are no visible sentries on the wind-scoured ice of the approaches. The approaches show no tracks. Hello, Starlight. Okay, so now that you arrived, I'm reading a script that would eventually become The Empire Strikes Back, and like in The Empire Strikes Back, Luke gets hit by a snow monster, and now we're looking at a so-called ice castle. So anyway, there are no visible sentries in the wind-scoured ice of the approaches. Show no tracks. Yet Han Solo gallops his snow lizard confidently toward the blank, glittering wall of the structure. In upper natural caves hollowed out, there are hooded gun emplacements and radar installations, all constructed to be invisible from above. The ice castle, day. As Han approaches the seemingly blank wall, a section of the ice slides open and disappears inside, the wall closing behind him. Interior ice castle, day outer court. Inside, the ice has been hollowed out into a series of chambers and halls. In this, the outer court, Han dismounts and gives his lizard to an attendant. Stripping off helmet and goggles, he hurries on toward an inner door. Here he is stopped by a junior officer on duty with several soldiers.
Han Solo, with a report for
Captain Solo, the Princess Leia wishes you to report to her immediately.
Well, that's what I just...
Interior, inner hall, day, at door. Office. She's in the war room with the third level. Soldier, escort Captain.
I know the way.
He turns and strides impatiently across the inner hall, which is large and busy, with people and robots going back and forth on errands. There are corridors opening off the hall, and a bank of lifts. Han Solo steps into one of these and is taken down. The officer, meanwhile, turns to an intercom. Interior, third level, day. This level has been blasted out of solid ice and is huge in extent, stretching away on either side. As Han steps out of the lift, we see a hangar deck with rebel ships ranked in line, and X-Wing fighters being towed into place. Mechanics and mech robots work among the ships. In other places are banks of indicators with flashing lights showing the status of various life support systems. Men, women, and robots monitor these indicators. Huge pipes snake across the roof overhead. The scene is one of great activity, planned and orderly. Han Solo crosses toward a door that says War Room, authorized personnel only. He hesitates briefly, then strides on past along the hangar deck. Interior, hangar deck, third level, day. Han approaches the battered, unorthodox shape of the Millennium Falcon, looking out of place among the sleek warcraft. He runs up the gangway.
Chewie! No, Chewie?
Interior, Falcon, day. Chewbacca, the Wookiee, answers with a growling pleasure from the control cabin as Han enters the main cabin. Chewie comes in wiping his paws on oily waste and talking a blue streak. Han laughs and pats his huge chest.
You're not any more bored than I am, Chewie. I never thought I'd go for a soldier, and I doubt if I can put up with it much longer. You just keep the old Falcon in.
They both break off as a heavy booming sound interrupts, and the ground shakes. Chewbacca roars.
Calm down, they're just blasting more space. They're just blasting more space to put more ships as they come in. You keep the Falcon in. You keep the Falcon in shape, Chewie. Never know when we may want to jump.
Chewie growls understandingly. Chewie growls a question and Han shrugs, shaking his head.
How should I know? Nobody's likely to find us in this forsaken hole. I doubt if even God remembers where he hung the star.
Interior, war room, day, the plotting tank. At first, we think we're in space looking down from above at the entire galaxy, the burning core. Yeah, I'm fine. I just have an itchy nose, that's all. At first, we think we're in space looking down from above at the entire galaxy, the burning core of stars at the center, the outflung spiral arms. It is dizzying. Then a single point of light brightens, green light, and a man's voice speaks over.
We are here, the fourth planet of this detached system at the edge of the Granada cluster.
The green light is indeed close to the great hive of suns, burning with many colors. Interior, war room, day, full shot. We see now that the galaxy is a three-dimensional model occupying a huge tank in the center of a great ice chamber. Men and women stand or move about on a catwalk that surrounds it. Lining the walls are control panels, indicator panels, computers, and communicators. The man who has spoken, Commander Willard, stands on the walk with Princess Leia, General Dodonna, and some other brass, looking down at the plotting tank.
We hope that the massive energy output of the cluster will mask our comings and goings from the Empire radar sweeps, which we know will eventually quarter the entire galaxy. C-3PO.
Interior, war room, day. At one of the control panels, C-3PO stands nearby with R2-D2 beside him. Yes, Commander.
Let us have the display based on our latest calculations.
Right away, sir. R2, you have your orders. R2 whistles derisively and does things to the panel. The tank, Princess Leia, Willard, and others in FG look. I assume FG means foreground. Looking down, the galaxy model now shifts color. Part of it, the largest part, is engulfed in red.
That is the Empire.
Other areas begin to glow green. First a small, well-defined center, and then scattered patches or single lights.
Since we destroyed the Empire's Death Star, many more systems have found courage to join the rebellion. At the last count, 1,026. But as you can see, we're widely scattered and still vastly inferior in ships and men. This base is strategically placed for...
He breaks off and looks up, as they all do, as Han Solo flings the door open and enters.
Captain Solo, I believe you were ordered to report at once. Something more important delayed you, no doubt.
Han reddens. Princess Leia puts a hand on Willard's arm. I'll handle this. Please continue, gentlemen. Han. She walks quickly to Han, whose mouth is open on an angry retort. He shuts it as she smiles at him. Let's go outside. 3PO and R2. They have watched this. They see Han and Leia go out, and 3PO gives the robotic equivalent of a chuckle. For a moment, I thought Captain Solo was going to simply refuse all his circuits. He's as undisciplined as you ought to. R2 makes a rude noise and continues to manage the board as men's voices continue behind them at the plotting tank. I have to admit I'm worried. What the commander says is true. The Empire is so powerful, even without the Death Star, and we're taking an awful chance with this base, putting all our eggs in one basket, as it were. R2 makes a series of whistling sounds. We haven't got enough eggs for 2 baskets. That's a profound remark, R2. I'll treasure it. Exterior, docking bay, day. Leia is leading Han into a quiet area of the hangar. Han has recovered his good humor and is bending over Leia with a smile, but her small face is serious and intent. So you saw no signs of any inhabitants?
Hostile or otherwise. Leia.
Where's Luke?
He'll be along. He had to go look at something pretty on the other side of the ridge. Leia, I've been meaning to...
She holds up her hand imperiously, every inch a princess. Han, listen to me. We've been in touch with your stepfather. Han's face changes, hardens. He steps back from her.
He's not my stepfather.
Well, whatever he is, he was fond of you once. Of all the people in the galaxy, you're the only one he might listen to. Oh, Starlight, you didn't have to retract your messages. If you feel like you need to censor yourself, there's absolutely no need to do that.
No, and anyway,
he's agreed to talk to you.
He has. Well, that's fine. I don't want to talk to him.
I don't know why you quarreled with him and ran away. I don't care. All that matters is that Oven Marikal is the most powerful man in the galaxy next to the Emperor himself and Darth Vader. Through his transport guild he controls. He controls
all the pilots and navigators in commercial space, and wars aren't won with weapons. I know that. I also know that Oven Marikal goes with the winning side, and that's the Empire. He doesn't exactly love it, but that's where the power is.
Interior, ice corridor, day. In this script, he does. Han and Leia have stopped now in an unfinished side corridor away from the noise and activity of the docking area. The corridor stretches away into dimness beyond where the light strip ends. Leia is looking up at Han, and neither of them see what might be vague, shadowy motion, white on white, at the far dim end of the corner. If the Emperor crushes the rebellion and comes to full power, how long does Ovid Marikel think his precious guild will last? Han, we must have him on our side. You must try to win him for us. Han puts his hands gently on either side of Leia's face, turning her lips toward his. He bends her over.
Leia, for you, I try even that.
You would? For me? She smiles. Now his arms go around her. He pulls her closer to him, and for a moment it seems that she is melting in his arms, ready for the kiss. In the background, unnoticed, the dim white shapes move and watch. At the very last minute, Leia slaps Han's face with a resounding crack, and he starts back, letting go, thoroughly startled. Coldly angry, she faces him. Captain Solo, a great war is raging. What you would do for me, or I for you, are matters of no consequence. The mission is vital. The success or failure of the Rebel Alliance may depend on it. As an officer of that alliance, will you or will you not accept the mission?
I'll think about it, Your Highness.
She turns and stalks away as he follows her. Behind them at the end of the corridor, the white-on-white shadows seem also to have departed. Dissolved to interior snowman cave, night. Luke Skywalker lies on the floor of an ice cave, alone. I'm going to lower this. Ice cave, alone. Somewhere in the recesses of the cave, we can hear voices, the deep growling, unhuman voices like the grinding together of rocks, the cadence very slow, the rise and fall of tones very limited. We can understand no single word. Perhaps there are no words. Yet there is menace in the voices, chillingly alien and incomprehensible. Luke stirs. The cave is suffused with a strange light, as of starlight, but much brighter. Luke's face is covered in dried or frozen blood on one side. He sits up, touching himself to discover the extent of his injuries, looking about him, listening to the muttering voices. His lightsaber is still holstered at his side. He can see no one. Gathering himself, moving unsteadily, he steals toward what appears to be the cave mouth. He has almost reached it when through glittering shapes of ice at one side, a gigantic white form emerges and bars the way. It reaches for Luke with huge amorphous paws, grating and grumbling, and for a moment Luke stands appalled, and when a voice seems to speak to him very softly and quietly, a familiar and well-loved voice. Remember the Force, boy. Open your mind to it. Open your heart. Ben! Ben! Stepping back from the monstrous form, only half glimpsed in the starlight, Luke seems to grow taller, to take on stature, his weakness leaving him. He draws the lightsaber, and when the beast lunges at him, he moves expertly, slashing with the beam, and the beast with one strange cry vanishes back into the icy formations. Luke runs out of the cave. Exterior, ice planet, plain, night. Luke runs across the snowy plain under a night sky of incredible magnificence, with the great star cluster burning overhead. At the mouth of the cave behind him, there are groanings and grumblings and moving shapes, but the creatures do not attempt to follow. Exterior, ice planet, plain, night. Luke runs on, a small figure in the vastness of snow and cluster light. His pace begins to slow, and his track weaves from side to side. He stumbles, goes to his hands and knees. Ben, help me. The Force, it's gone. There is no help. Luke drags himself erect. Please, help me, Ben. Please help. He staggers on, toward the foot of a long slope of snow. He essays the ascent, falls again, and lies still for a moment, then begins painfully to crawl upward. Han Solo, Leia, and others. A search party, mounted on snow lizards, pulls up at pulls up at 2, top of the slope some distance away, and Han points.
There he is!
Thank God. They race down the slope toward Luke, dissolve to interior base, night. 3PO and R2 hurry together down a long corridor cut from the ice of the base. Poor Master Luke. If I'd been with him, this might never have happened. R2 beeps and whistles. Certainly my joints would have frozen, but not at once, and I might have been able to... What is it now? Continued. Passing the mouth of a side corridor, R2 has halted and turned, apparently caught by something he sees or senses in the side corridor. He takes a few tentative steps into the side corridor, beeping uncertainly. What do you mean you saw something? It's only storage space, and it's not even finished yet. He follows R2 into the corridor. Interior, side corridor, night. At the end of the corridor, where the light does not reach, there is a suggestion of movement, white on white. R2 begins making urgent noises, halting abruptly. 3PO peers into the dimness. Nonsense, you silly collection of spare parts. You'd better have your senses checked. The cold here seems to be affecting them. Come along now. But R2 is way ahead of him, scooting back to the main corridor. R2, wait for me! Interior, main corridor, night. But R2 is waiting for no man nor robot. Beeping furiously, he hurries on, with 3PO lumbering in his wake. R2, wait! Interior, base, sick bay, night. Luke lies in a bunk in the small sick bay, his face roughly bandaged. Leia sits on the side of the bunk, holding his hand, her face showing her concern. Han Solo, standing at the foot of the bunk, does not miss this. Commander Willard is also there. I couldn't get a good look at them. Even at the one I killed or drove away, it just vanished. I only know they're huge and white and cold. Continued.
Were there many of them?
I don't know. I heard strange voices. An inner doctor of the bay opens, and a doctor and nurse enter. Your Highness, Commander, this man has lost an awful lot of blood, and his wounds need attention. I must ask you...
One moment, Doctor. This is vital.
Skywalker, do you believe that these snow creatures pose any threat to the base? I can't... He is interrupted by beeping and whistling. Outside, the outer door opens. R2 and 3PO enter. R2, 3PO. Master Luke. Oh, Master Luke. If only I'd been there to help. The Force helped me.
The Force.
I heard old Ben, or I thought I did, tell me to open my mind to the Force. And I must have, because suddenly I was strong and able to fight. That's how I got away.
You only got one of them. Why didn't the others follow you?
The Force held them, but after I lost it, I couldn't get it back. If you hadn't found me, He shakes his head, then starts up in alarm. My saber! My father's lightsaber! Where is it? Right here, Master Luke. The saber lies on a table nearby. Luke reaches out for it, and 3PO picks it up, fumbles it, grasps the hilt. Close shot. On 3PO's hands with a lightsaber. As he grips the hilt awkwardly, there is a sharp click, and something crystalline and shiny pops out of a hidden recess in the hilt. Oh dear. Back to the scene. Oh dear, what have I done? I've broken it.
No, wait a minute, calm down.
He takes the saber from 3PO and studies it.
It's a miracle he could do anything with this antique. Let's see. There's a little stud hidden here. It activates a spring and...
Let me have it. Skywalker, if you want. Let me have it, Han! The doctor shrugs, and Han gives Luke the saber. Luke looks at the crystal projecting from the hilt. He works it gently with his fingers, and it comes free. Yes, it belongs there. It fits. But what is it? R2 has kept up a safety, if subdued, beeping, now gives a shriller whistling. I could have told him that, R2. A memory cell? Like from a computer? Luke, put it away now and let the doctor. But R2, having finally managed to get people's attention, goes into a renewed burst of urgent noises.
What's he babbling about? He hasn't shut up once since he came in here.
He claims he saw something big and white moving at the end of a corridor. Sheer nonsense, of course, and I told him to have his senses. 3PO suddenly becomes aware of the frozen stares he is getting from everyone in the room. It is nonsense, isn't it?
Princess, I think we better continue this discussion outside.
I'd appreciate it. Leia, if those things are in the base. We'll be careful, don't worry. She kisses him quickly on his unbandaged cheek. They all go out, R2 giving one final triumphant beep. Doctor and nurse approach Luke's bed. He is still holding the saber and the crystal. Staring at the crystal, he starts to replace it in the saber hilt, fumbling a bit from weakness. Perhaps you better let me do it. No, I'll manage. Fascinated, he stares at the enigmatic crystal. Camera moves in to a close on the glittery thing and dissolves to close shot. A moving beam of light reflects splintered radiance from knobs and spikes of ice on a rough ice wall.
No sign of anything here now.
Interior, side corridor, night. Willard, holding a torch in one hand and a blaster in the other. Han and Leia, each armed with a blaster, stand in a wary group with 3PO and R2.
It's possible R2 was mistaken.
R2 makes a noise like, They start to move back to the main corridor.
I'm afraid we have to assume that.
He breaks off and they all pause a moment as the dull, booming shock of an explosion reaches them from somewhere in the base. I'll be glad when they stop that.
We all will.
Interior, main corridor, night. As they come back into the main corridor.
We all have to assume that R2 saw exactly what he said he did.
But how in the world could these creatures get into the base?
There's no rock around us, just ice. They could tunnel. What could they do anyway? They sound very primitive, just animals. Nevertheless, until we know a little more about it, I'm going to...
Suddenly, alarm hooters begin to sound all through the base, and mechanical voices boom through speakers mounted in the corridor. Red alert, red alert, Security Squad 6 and 8 to Sector K-12 on the double. I repeat, red alert, all personnel report to assigned stations.
K-12, that's where they've been blasting.
He starts to run. Leia and Han follow. The mechanical voice and the hooting continue as a blurred background as they go. 3PO and R2 hesitate. Report to assigned stations. Thank heavens, ours is nowhere near K2. K-12. Come on, R2, we're needed. They take off along the corridor. Interior, Sector K-12, night. A number of bodies are sprawled around like dolls hurled and broken by giant children. Heavy equipment is smashed. The security people are standing around looking baffled, with nothing to shoot at. Willard, Leia, and Han are looking at the death and destruction, their faces grim. At one side, a woman in coveralls stands weeping, a security man beside her.
Bring her over here.
The security man brings the weeping woman to Willard. He looks at her shoulder patches.
Technician, first class. Technician, first class.
The woman straightens up and controls herself. Yes, monitoring the excavation procedures. I'm sorry. It's just that I saw them. Great white things. All of a sudden, they were here. And all this happened in seconds, so fast.
And how do they get away?
They seem to just disappeared.
I see. Thank you. Dismissed. You're asking what these primitive animals could do.
Han nods. He and Leia and Willard leave the area as cleanup operations begin and paramedics arrive. Interior, base, night. Leia, Han, and Willard walking across the main hangar.
I'm putting the base on a 24-hour red alert. Maximum precautions. Everyone go armed at all times.
Can we control these creatures? Do we dare take the risk? They halt, and Willard looks around the ships, a haggard and tired man.
Princess, we dare not take the risk. If we move, searching for another base, with all this to do over again, there's no chance we'd get away with it. This base is our best hope. We've got to hold on to it. At least here, so far, we're safe from the Empire. Has Captain Solo granted us a decision yet on whether he'll undertake the mission to Oven Marikal? Why don't you just order me to go, Commander?
Continue.
Because I have Princess Leia's orders not to do that.
Either you go of your own free will, Han, or there's no point you're going at all. Good night, gentlemen. If you need me, Commander, I'll be in the sick bay. She strides away, her back straight and uncompromising. Han looks after her with a peculiar expression. Secretly, tired as he is, Willard smiles. Dissolved to exterior, Ton mooned, day establishing. View of an enormous city, covered all we can see of a planet. Caption: Ton mooned, the city planet, administrative center of the Empire. Oh. This must be like Coruscant before Coruscant was Coruscant. That's interesting. Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay, and he is back. Hang on, I just realized I never set my phone to silent. Because I don't want to be in the middle of something and then my phone goes, from vibration on my table. Anywho, Ton mooned, sorry. Caption: Ton mooned, the city planet, administrative center of the Empire. Exterior, building, day. Ton moon should have an odd sort of daylight, perhaps a blue star. One of a complex of mighty, squat, towering buildings with a look of cold efficiency about them, totally devoid of beauty. Interior, Darth Vader's quarters. Moon, day. The room is large, Spartan in its furnishings, with a bank of communications and computer terminals indicating that it is an office devoted to the business of the Empire. Darth Vader, huge, black-clad, and cloaked, his face hidden by the black breathing mask, stands watching as two of his minions interview an alien, a very alien-looking alien who speaks in quick, chittering bursts, glancing uneasily at Vader's menacing height. One of the minions is an interpreter who listens to the alien's speech and then relays the translation to Vader and the other minion who is recording the conversation. Okay, this individual says it is a small trader. Makes the occasional voyages into the Granita cluster, where he has several contacts.
Thief, smuggler, and slaver. No one else goes to Granita. Continue.
There is another brief exchange of chittering and squeaking. As the individual was approaching the cluster, normal velocity, it saw a number of ships drop out of hyperspace and head away from the cluster. It counted 23, most of these bearing rebel insignia. It did not dare follow them, but it was able to get a fix on the direction of flight.
The coordinates, man! The coordinates!
More chittering and squeaking. The interpreter looks unhappy. Lord Vader, the individual believes that this information is of considerable value to the Empire. It desires a reward.
The Empire is gracious in its friends. Give me the coordinates or the name of the solar system. Anything.
More chittering. The interpreter writes down a series of numbers. Vader gestures to him to hand the paper to the second man.
Put it on the screen.
The second man sets up a pattern on a keyboard. A huge screen lights up, showing the lower segment of the Granita cluster. A light pointer appears in the area where the rebel ships were sighted. It begins to move away from the cluster. The picture moves with it, leaving the cluster farther behind. Vader watches tensely. A spot of light appears. A star. Planets. The pointer zeroes in on the solar system and stops. Vader's great gauntleted hand crashes down on a tabletop in triumph.
Remove this unpleasant lump of protoplasm. Give it whatever its heart desires, if it has a heart. But see that it's kept under lock and key until we're sure its information is accurate.
And he sweeps out of the office, striding like a man with a mighty purpose. Dissolved to interior sickbay, the rebel base, day. Luke is up and around the sickbay, convalescent. He still looks a bit shaky, and his face shows some scarring. Leia is with him. They are in the midst of a tentative and very tender love scene. Oh my fucking god. I just want everyone to keep in mind that this was before it was decided that Leia was Luke's brother. You know, just to make that clear. Otherwise, this is going to be a very, very awkward live stream. You spent a lot of time here, Leia. I woke up. Whenever I woke up, I could see you sitting beside the bed. Yeah, it was awkward enough when they just flat out kissed each other. Well, I mean, she pulled him into a kiss while he was on the sick bed. But that's pretty much the only extent. But, I mean, to be fair, they didn't know, and I don't think George Lucas even knew. But anyway, back to the story. You very nearly didn't make it. The doctor said if it hadn't been for your helmet, you were lucky. And now those snow things are inside the base. There hasn't been another attack since that night. Leia, I wish you'd go somewhere safe. There isn't any safe place for me. You know that. Not as long as Darth Vader and the Empire. Leia. I love you. I want to keep you safe. He kisses her and she returns it, a sweet and tender kiss. Then she pushes him gently away. Dear Luke, try to understand. Whether I will it or not, I'm the Princess Leia Organa, a leader of the rebel forces. And I'm just a farm boy from Tatooine. You're Luke Skywalker, the fighter pilot who destroyed the Death Star. You have duties, just as I have. There isn't any place for love. Not now. Might there be later? Luke, I wish. She is interrupted by a knock at the door. A knock on the door. Yes, come in. Han Solo enters, looking very brisk, brash, and pleased with himself. Leia seems relieved to see him. Luke is somehow subtly relegated to the background. Oh, hello, Han.
Hello, Leia. They told me I'd find you here. How's it going, Luke? You're looking great.
I'm fine, thanks.
Glad to hear it. Leia, I wanted to tell you.
You've decided to undertake the mission.
How did you...
I know you better than you know yourself.
A man always hates to hear a woman tell him that. It might just be true, and what a catastrophe that would be.
Can I go with you? Can I go with you, Han? I'm strong. I'm strong enough.
No, I can't take anyone, Luke. Just me and Chewbacca. Chewie's been there before, and anyway, Wookiees don't get involved much in politics. See, Ovan Marikal knows he's a prime target for assassination or kidnapping. I'm one of the very few people in the galaxy who knows where to find him.
But he's the head of the Transport Guild.
A face on the vid screen. He even attends board meetings by remote control. Anyway, those were his orders. Chewie and me alone. I'm sorry, Luke. I'd really like to have you, but it's not going to be any pleasure jaunt.
It's going to be extremely dangerous. That's another reason I couldn't order you to go. I'm very grateful. When do you plan to leave?
I've got a list of stores we'll need. As soon as we get them loaded...
Come on. I'll see that the requisitions are put through right away. Luke, why don't you get some rest? Leia and Han go out together. He looks after them, dejected. If I were a Jedi Knight, full of anger and hurt pride, he goes to where the lightsaber lies and picks it up, as if it holds the answer to all his problems, if only he can find it. Why can't I learn to control the Force? If only old Ben had waited a little longer. But I've waited long enough, Luke. It's your time now. Ben, tell me what to do. He has not noticed that the door has opened and the nurse is watching him. I'll tell you what to do, young man. You climb right back into that bed while I go and call the doctor. You're hallucinating again, hearing voice. She breaks off, her jaw dropping, as Luke abruptly turns toward her, adopting an almost ritual pose with the lightsaber. She makes a brave attempt to stand her ground. Now, you stop. Luke, you stay. Luke is neither seeing nor hearing her. His face is remote and strange. Doctor! She is running down the corridor, calling for the doctor. Luke leaves the room, paying no attention. Cut to interior base, a deserted area, day. 3PO and R2 are hurrying rather furtively along a corridor. 3PO looks about nervously. You don't sense anything, do you, R2? I haven't felt safe for 1 minute since... He breaks off as R2 beeps, stops, and looks at him in horror. You do sense something? Oh my. He is turning around, on the verge of running, when R2 beeps some more, impatiently. 3PO calms down at once. Well, why didn't you say so instead of frightening the titanium out of me? They go around a bend in the corridor and find Luke waiting in a kind of recess. We came as soon as we could, Master Luke. I think they're looking for you. I know they are. He presses the stud in the hilt of his saber and lifts out the crystal. Continued. R2, you said this was a memory cell. Can you read it? R2 beeps. He says he'll try. Insert it there, Master Luke. He points to a slot that R2 has opened on his front. Luke inserts the crystal. R2 stands quietly, humming for a moment, digesting. Then he beeps and whistles. He says it appears to contain the coordinates of a star system. A remote part of the galaxy. Luke removes the crystal and stares at it. Perhaps it's where my father was trained. Perhaps if I went there... But Master Luke, there are no more Jedi Knights. Ben Kenobi was the last. R2 beeps and whistles. All right, yes, I know. Darth Vader is really the last Jedi, but Master Luke can hardly go to him for lessons. There's no one left to teach you now. Besides, we can't leave our posts here. Luke sighs and replaces the crystal in the hilt. I suppose you're right. I'll just have to... A distant rumble shock interrupts him. He stops until it has passed. Do the best I can myself. 3PO follows him with R2. As they go away, camera pans to show white shadows in the far depths of the corridor. Faintly, like a menacing whisper, comes the sound of deep, grinding, grumbling voices. Dissolved to... in space. An Empire fleet moves swiftly through space in the cluster light. Interior, Darth Vader's ship, the bridge. Darth Vader stands with a high-ranking officer looking out the forward port. Others are present in background, the pilot, navigator, communications officer. If the coordinates are accurate, Lord Vader, we should make a star fall in approximately 2.5 units. But then we still don't know which planet the rebels have occupied, and you can be sure they're well hidden.
I'll know. Already I can sense a disturbance in the Force.
Luke Skywalker?
Obi-Wan's fledgling disabled my fighter and sent me spinning off into space with all systems dead, even the radio. But I knew when he destroyed the Death Star, using the Force to find the target. I had much time to consider Master Skywalker while I was waiting to be rescued. He's too much like his father.
Darth Vader pauses, remembering old betrayals. The officer glances sidelong at him, uneasily. He does not break the silence.
His control is still rudimentary, but his potential is strong. It must not be allowed to develop into a weapon for the rebels.
Dissolve to interior base, the hangar, day. By the Millennium Falcon, Chewie and a couple of workmen are finishing a loading operation. A little distance away, Han Solo is talking with Willard, while Luke and Leia look on. Luke has the lightsaber holstered at his side.
I don't need to stress again the importance of this mission, but you're doing it anyway. Don't you trust me? I have to, Captain Solo. Good luck.
He goes. Han goes to Leia.
Leia.
He'll listen to you. I know he... A distant but very powerful explosion booms. Things shake and fall. Everyone reacts, startled. Interesting. I always wonder how very... It would be interesting.
If they're not careful, they'll have the whole place down. They'll have the whole place down around our ears.
Chewie and the men start working again. Han turns again to Leia, and the lights go out. There's a moment of intense quiet. The air duct fans have stopped too. One of the workmen switches on a hand lamp. They'll have the emergency generators on in a moment. The second workman turns on his hand lamp, making two wavering beams of light in the intense darkness. From elsewhere in the base come sudden shouts and cries and the sound of blasters.
Sounds like an attack in force. Chewie, turn on the...
But Chewie growls an urgent warning. It is answered by deep, grinding voices. There! Over there! Something moving! The hangar. The swinging flashlight beams show huge, dim, white shadows moving in the darkness, sliding swiftly just beyond the edges of the light. Suddenly, one of the workmen goes flying with a scream, broken by a huge paw. His flashlight goes too. Chewie fires his blaster. Leia, get inside the ship! He draws his lightsaber and activates it. The blade sheds its strange radiance. Everybody is pulling blasters. The white shapes move very swiftly, elusive targets. The ship next to the Falcon in the bay goes over with a crash. The Falcon itself begins to shake. Chewie runs forward, firing at a white shape by the stern. A flying piece of wreckage knocks the blaster from his hand. Roaring, he grapples with the beast. More wreckage and containers are hurled. Leia is firing. The second workman is killed. Han runs toward Chewie and the beast. Chewie is huge himself, but he looks child-sized by comparison with his adversary. He is also becoming covered with frost where the snow creature touches him. A human would have been dead by now. Wookiees are made of tougher stuff, but Chewie is not long for the world. Han runs toward him for a close shot at the creature. As he does so, another of the creatures attacks Luke. Luke wields the lightsaber. The beast easily eludes it and knocks Luke spinning, a glancing blow. It rears over him for the death blow. Leia screams, "Luke!" She runs toward him, firing, but misses as she is knocked down by a piece of debris hurled by the third creature. Han perforce turns aside to help Luke. The snow creature turns to attack him, but he fires and the creature vanishes back into the darkness, whether hit or not. Han hauls the half-stunned Luke to his knees, snarling,
"The Force is not with you today, kid. Get out of this!"
He runs back toward Chewie. Leia, unhurt, is now firing coolly from a kneeling position. "Over here, Luke, I'll cover you!" But Luke, crushed and humiliated, stays where he is, the shining saber lying on the ice beside him. Han runs in and gets off a close shot into the dim white body of the snow creature. There is a sound like an avalanche of boulders. Both Chewie and Han go flying. When they look up, the creature has vanished, and everything around them is quiet, though there are still sounds of turmoil in the distance.
"I don't believe those things. One of them just shook the Falcon, and yet they're like phantoms."
He scrambles up and goes to Chewie, who is picking himself up, growling, wincing, and saying bad things in Wookiee. Luke picks up the saber and gets unsteadily to his feet. Leia comes to him. "Luke, are you hurt?" Luke is staring at the saber and does not look at her. "No, I'm fine." Luke turns and starts away. Leia looks worried. Han has been brushing the frost from Chewie's fur.
"A little moth-eaten, but I guess you'll do."
Chewie growls.
"Get the lights on and we'll check for damage. Hey Luke, where are you going? Wait a minute."
Chewie climbs into the Falcon. Han catches up with Luke. Luke, Han, and Leia.
"Listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I was rough. I didn't mean it. It's just that... Luke, those lightsabers were ceremonial weapons, even for the Jedi Knights. They're deadly, sure they are, but only at close quarters, hand to hand, and that snow creature was just too fast for you."
"Luke hasn't recovered yet, Han. He's still weak." "You don't have to defend me, Leia. He's right. I almost got all three of you killed."
"The point is, you're going to get yourself killed. I know old Ben got you all excited about the Knights and the Force and all that stuff, but you've got to stop daydreaming, kid. You're not Jedi Knight, and you never will be. The Falcon's landing lights come on, illuminating a part of the hangar deck. Leia, sorry for Luke's distress and anxious to break up the talk, interrupts. Well, that's better.
Princess Leia!
Willard, with a hand lamp, now comes running into the deck area from the war room, calling. I'm here, Commander.
Thank heaven. You'll be safer in the war room. I think there's safety anywhere. If there's any safety anywhere.
Luke deactivates the saber, watching the light die.
What's happening?
Everything.
I gotta check out the Falcon.
He goes, and Leia motions Willard to stop. Come on, Luke. Her gentle sympathy is more humiliating to Luke than a blow. It is the ultimate wound. He holsters the saber. Willard and Leia start on again, and he trails after them, looking as if he had been whipped. Dissolve to space. The Empire fleet approaching the system of the ice planet. Interior, Darth Vader's ship, the bridge. Darth Vader and the officer are on the bridge, looking through the forward port. There's the system, Lord Vader. There are 4 planets. Which one? Vader's black gauntlet rises and points like a hammer of doom.
The outermost. There!
The camera zooms in on the port, on the little icy ball glittering in the light of its primary. Attention all fleet units. Assume attack formation. Attack formation. Dissolve to interior base. Series of shots. In dark corridors, men and women with hand lamps run, and wildly tossing beams glittering off the icy walls. There is a confusion of voices, shouts, cries, screams, and deep grinding grumbling voices of the snow creatures. A white-on-white specter emerges from a side corridor and tosses a man screaming to the roof of the corridor, down which he has been running. Men clatter down emergency ladders. The sound of shots echoes irregularly from off-screen. Base, the generator level. Bodies lie about amid wrecked equipment and debris. There is a portal completely blocked with fallen ice. From this icefall, a pair of boots protrudes stiffly. Above the portal, a sign hangs drunkenly. Generator room. Several engineering maintenance technicians caps run about through other doorways, blasters in hand. An engineer speaks into a portable self-powered radio unit. He is understandably in shock. Chief Engineer Squad 3, generator level. I have damage report. Interior base, the war room. Lighted by headlamps, the war room by hand lamps. The war room resembles the catatonic ward of a mental hospital. Technicians with nothing to do stand to something beside their blacked out panels. Everything is dead. 3PO and R2 stand quietly. Various officers and orderlies stand by, along with Princess Leia. Luke looks on. Willard is speaking to one of the self-contained walkie-talkie units.
Commander Willard here, go on.
Intercut with engineer on generator level. Sir, the main generators. There isn't a generator room left. Relays are burnt out right across the board. Cables fused. Power surge of some kind.
Have you checked the emergency generators?
Haven't had time. It's cold here. Getting colder.
Engineer, we need those air pumps going again.
Sir, the main pumps. They're wrecked. He is looking through another portal at a mass of twisted metal.
The backup system, then. Get on it, man.
Interior base, generator level. Yes, sir. He beckons to his squad as they hurry after him into an adjourning corridor. Interior base, generator level. The engineer and his squad enter a chamber containing the emergency generators and a bank of pumps. They walk around quickly, inspecting the equipment. The engineer speaks into his radio. It looks all right. Power pack's intact. Pumps haven't been damaged. We'll have to start the generators manually. Suddenly, there are ghostly white shapes all around, and a man screams, and the deep grinding voices blot out human speech. Interior base, generator level. Running for his life, a man comes out of the generator room. As he runs, an overhead pipe bursts suddenly, drenching the man with water, which instantly freezes, encasing him in ice. The water itself freezes into a gigantic icicle. War room. In utter silence, everyone listens horrified to the sounds issuing from Willard's radio. Screams, the deep grinding voices, then another explosion. The radio goes dead. This is why the creatures have been so quiet since that first attack. They were planning a concerted effort to drive us off their world completely.
Well, they've succeeded. With no power and no air, we won't survive long.
People are running past the room outside, onto the hangar deck. The vanguard of people fleeing the terror below. A man comes in unceremoniously, panicky. The water pipes are bursting. The water's freezing everything. People freezing right where they stand. The lower levels are filling up with ice. And those creatures, they're everywhere.
Get on your evacuation area. Pass the order. Clear the base immediately.
He turns to Dodonna and Leia and the senior officers.
Now we have to make a decision. Do we evacuate the surface and try to find some way of combating these... I don't know what to call them. Mere beasts would be incapable of doing what they've done. And they're certainly not human. Or shall we bow to them and abandon the base entirely?
Luke, who has been sitting quietly in his quarter with an increasingly strange look on his face, as if he listens to something far away, now speaks up. Leia, tell them to go, now. They stare at him, and Leia puts her hand out to him. Why, Luke? What is it? I can't explain it. I just feel danger. Dark. Reaching. This is too big a decision to be made on the basis of a hunch. The radio comes alive abruptly, a man's voice sharp with panic. Condition red! Condition red! Does anyone read me?
Commander Willard here.
Interior base, upper radar installation. In one of the hollowed-out ice towers of the castle, 2 radar technicians stare at a screen. The screen shows a large number of unmistakable blips. One of the men has the radio. Sir, this is radar installation 6, operating on power pack. Our screen shows ships approaching. Attack formation. A whole fleet heading straight for us. Intercut with Willard in the war room. A wave of shock has gone around the room as this news penetrates. White-faced, Willard asks a question.
How long do we have?
Estimate. Contact in 20 minutes. Interior, war room. Leia looks at Luke, who shakes his head as if not quite believing it. Willard puts down the radio. Dodonna is already barking orders to subordinates. Find out how many guns we've got operative up there. We'll hold out as long as we can to cover the evacuation and get those people moving. An officer comes up. Sir, shall I scramble the fighters? No. We can't stop to pick them up, and there's no point in wasting good men. We're going to lose enough as it is. Willard has gone to Leia.
Princess, you must go. You must go now, at once.
Wait a minute. Luke, in case of evacuation, you and R2 and 3PO were supposed to go with Han, weren't you? Yeah, we were all kind of extra personnel. Well, you can't do that now.
And I'm afraid some of the droids will have to be left behind.
A shudder goes through 3PO, and R2 whistles plaintively. Not these two, unless you want to leave me with them. My spacer will hold 5 if R2 doesn't mind being crowded a little. R2 indicates that he won't mind at all. 3PO all but faints. Sedge! A pilot in a flying suit shoulders his way to Leia and salutes. Oh, there you are. Let's go. I've got to warn Han. He must get away. They all move out of the war room. Oh, hey, Sam Kirby. I think that was just like, a figure of speech with the whole droid feigning thing. Oh, there you are. Let's go. I've got to warn... Oh, there you are. Let's go. I've got to warn Han. He must get away. They all move out of the war room into the increasing tumult and confusion beyond. Interior base, 3rd level. The group hurrying toward the hangar deck. You couldn't have known the fleet was coming. I didn't. It's crazy. What I felt was like the Force, but the dark side of the Force. That's what Ben called it. Darth Vader. Could be. We know he was picked up by an Imperial ship. Hey, you've got to get away. If he takes you again... Han's more important than I am right now. And... Look there! Interior base, the hangar deck. In the distance, the Falcon stands in the bright pool of its lights. Han and Chewbacca, with welding equipment, are working on one of the lifting vanes. Leia runs toward the Falcon. Help Sedge get R2 into the spacer. Okay. I can manage. There's a magnetic hoist right over there, but there is no power to open bays. If you can operate the manual controls. Leia's spacer, much smaller than the Falcon, is in another bay, across from the Falcon. Men are already straining to open the doors of the Falcon's bay. Reluctantly, Luke looks after Leia and goes with 3PO in the opposite direction. Two of them begin to heave on the manual controls wheel, which resists. Interior, series of quick shots. Men with battery-powered loudhailers run along the corridors. Men with loudhailers. Condition red. All personnel to evacuation areas. Move! And the people are moving, running through the corridors, swarming up ladders. Bodies lie about here and there. Man with loudhailer. Get to your evacuation areas. He turns a corner and skids to a halt, staring in horror. The people in the corridor ahead are frozen, encased in ice. Huge icicles depend from the pipes. The man turns to run. The pipe overhead ruptures, and he too is frozen. Hangar deck. At the Falcon, Han and Leia are shouting at each other. Imperial fleet or not, we can't fly until we get this fixed. Well, hurry up. Exterior base, day. On the snow plain in front of the ice castle, Imperial ships land. The transports disgorge great tank-type crawlers and armed troopers. Gun emplacement and the upper castle open up. The tank guns fire back. Troops and tanks attack the ice castle. Interior base, the hangar. The rumblings and shocks of heavy gunfire are transmitted from above. Men and women pour into the hangar deck, into the ships. Loudhailers below. The Falcon. Leia, hugging herself with cold and impatience, watches Han and Chewie. Aren't you finished yet? I could do better with a needle and thread. Luke and 3PO. In the opposite bay, they're still wrenching at the wheel. The bay doors have begun to open. Luke is looking nervously at the Falcon. The pilot, Sedge, has just finished lifting R2 into the spacer with a magnetic hoist. This mechanism appears to be partly frozen. No wonder. So am I. There. I think it'll go now. 3PO. 3PO, get Princess Leia. 3PO sets off. The pilot begins to back the hoist away. Luke heaves on the door, looking after 3PO, who disappears into the crowd. Exterior, base, day. Imperial troops and tanks hammer at the ice castle. Tank guns and castle guns carry out a vicious duel. Casualties mount on both sides. Part of the ice castle collapses, shattered by cannon fire. Interior base. Quick shots of corridors collapsing, people running to escape. The hangar deck. At the Falcon, 3PO runs up to Leia. Chunks of ice begin to fall from the roof. People are struck, injured, killed. Princess Leia, Master Luke says to come now. Just a minute. Hurry!
We're doing our best. Why don't you just get out?
3PO tries to protect Leia from falling ice. The roof. Camera ponders for a moment on the network of pipes. Sedge. In another part of the bay, he has parked the lift out of the way and is climbing down to return to the spacer when a pipe overhead bursts and he is frozen in the act. Luke sees this, horrified. The bay is open now. Sedge. He begins to run toward the Falcon. He sees Han and Chewie jump down at last, their repairs completed. Leia! Another overhead pipe lets go, spurting water in a curtain between him and the Falcon. Some of the people are caught and frozen. Han snatches Leia out of the way, but 3PO is frozen in a thin casing of ice by the edge of the spray. Luke halts, cut off. Dimly, he can see Han thrust Leia up the steps into the Falcon. Chewie picks up the rigid 3PO and carries him after. The hatch slams shut. Exterior base, day. The battle continues. Imperial troops are forcing an entrance. The hangar bay deck. The Falcon takes off through the bay doors. Lake runs for Leia's spacer as more of the ceiling falls in. Interior cockpit, spacer. R2's beeping wildly as Luke straps himself into the pilot seat and scans the controls. Chewie took 3PO to the Falcon. I think he'll be all right. Quiet down. I've got to figure these controls. He figures them quickly and starts punching buttons. The hangar deck. The spacer takes off. Interior spacer. In space. Luke is dropping the ice planet behind him as fast as he can, which is very fast indeed. Falcon, do you read me? Interior Falcon. In space. Han and Chewbacca at the controls. Leia looks out of a port. The frozen 3PO reposes stiffly as Chewie put him. Stiffly where Chewie put him.
Yeah, Luke, are you okay?
Off like a skyrocket. This thing really... And something was cut off.
All healthy.
3PO?
He'll be all right when he thaws.
Now that's all settled, we better move. Look there. Her point of view. Imperial ships are rising from the planet, pursuing the ships which are taking off, including the Falcon. Interior Falcon. Han and Chewie see the ships, and Chewie growls. Han into radio.
Where ships, kid? How will we find you again?
Interior spacer. In space. Never mind that now. Just go. Out. He cracks on more speed. Interior Falcon. In space.
Hang on.
He pours on the coal. That's a figure of speech. You know. Leia, hanging on, watches the distant ships through the port. Interior spacer. Day. Luke is nursing every last ounce of speed out of the fighter. R2 beeps a questioning note. If you're asking where we're going, little friend, I don't know yet. At least we don't seem to have anybody on our tail. In space. The spacer streaking through space at tremendous speed. Interior base. Darth Vader stands amid the shambles of the base, speaking to an unhappy-looking officer. We haven't found him among the prisoners, Lord Vader, unless he's buried in one of the tunnels.
No, he lives. Leave me, you incompetent idiot.
The officer is glad to scuttle away. Darth Vader stands, and the pattern of his breathing changes. You know, something like... How was that? Okay.
Luke Skywalker.
Interior spacer, in space. Luke shakes his head. It is suddenly difficult for him to breathe. What's the matter? I can't breathe. He checks the oxygen system. Luke, no malfunction. His face changes. Realization. Horror. No. No, I won't. I won't. But inexorably, he is losing consciousness. With the last of his strength, he unholsters the lightsaber. Desperately, he releases the crystal. R2. He sags in the harness, unconscious. R2. He sags in the harness, unconscious or dead? R2 extends an auxiliary arm and picks up the crystal, beeping and whistling, the while in a general tone of, why does everything happen to me? And humans are the oddest contraptions. Placing the crystal in the slot, he punches out some coordinates in the little navigational computer and flips a toggle. In space, the spacer vanishes into hyperspace, leaving only a brief flicker behind. Interior base. Darth Vader relaxes.
Goodbye, Luke Skywalker.
He turns and stalks from the room, dissolved to in space. The Falcon racing through space. Some distance behind it, a much larger ship is closing fast. Interior Falcon in space. There's an Imperial destroyer closing on us. The Falcon lurches as a shot from the destroyer bursts astern. Han, missing apparently. Hang on. Can't you go into hyperspace? Another blast rocks the ship. Han takes evasive action.
Need a destination. Can't jump blind. And I can't take you to Ovan Marikal. Weren't you given a rendezvous point for your group? I can drop you there and go on.
Money, for example. A small topaz crystal might be. Where did that topic of conversation come from, Starlight? I need some chapstick. Okay. Mentioned crystals in the script, so I thought it was interesting. Oh, okay, cool. Can't jump blind. Leia pulls a cord from around her neck. A small metal container, like a locket, depends from it. Yes, just a minute. These things have to be opened the right way.
I know. They're anti-personnel bombs in case they get into the wrong hands. Don't blow it, but don't fiddle around either.
Here it is. She extracts a metal chip too, and starts to give it to Han, when a near miss or a glancing hit almost throws the Falcon over. Red lights glow on the panel.
Just a second too late, Princess.
Okay. I'm not sure how to read this part, but just bear with me.
That one took out one of our overdrive generators. Keep her going, Chewie. I'll see what I can do.
He crowds back past Leia toward the generator hatch, passing 3PO on the way. The droid is still encased in ice, but is visibly dripping. Muffled sounds come from 3PO's voice box, but Han ignores them. He disappears through the hatch while the Falcon dances and leaps wildly. Leia clings close to Chewbacca, who is outdoing himself. Interior space, running battle, Falcon and Destroyer. The Falcon darts and swerves as the larger and faster Destroyer inexorably overhauls it. Bolts of energy from the destroyer's guns burst brightly. Interior Falcon, Leia, and Chewbacca. What's he doing down there? Chewbacca makes a series of growling noises, as if wishing Han would get the lead out of his spanners. On the other hand, if the damage is too severe... What if he can't fix it? Again, the Falcon leaps and yaws. Chewie grunts. Even I can understand that. Interior space, running battle, Falcon and Destroyer. The Destroyer pressing hard after the Falcon. Her time is running out. Interior Falcon. 3PO is moaning and muttering through the ice, unintelligibly, as his still partially rigid body is thrown about. Leia is still with Chewie. There's a particularly violent lurch, and Chewie's grumblings, accompanied by an anxious look around the fabric of the ship. Another cargo. Thank you, Starlight. Yes, everyone knows what a hatch is. There's a particularly violent lurch, and Chewie's grumblings accompanied by an anxious look around at the fabric of the ship, mean that the ship won't hold together much longer. Suddenly, on the panel, the red lights go off. Chewie turns demandingly to Leia, talking a blue streak, holding out one paw urgently. She hesitates, then hands him the metal chip. He thrusts it into the computer. Han emerges from the hatch just as Chewie slams in the overdrive. The blazing stars become streaks of light. As the Falcon makes the jump into hyperspace, it's suddenly quiet.
Chewie, just supposing that had been a false reading on the panel, and I hadn't really finished the repairs.
Chewie gives the Wookiee equivalent of a shrug.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Shaken by the swiftness of violence and everything that has happened, and the abrupt cessation, for the moment anyway, of danger, everybody undergoes a reaction. Han sinks down in the pilot chair.
Nice going.
Leia shrinks down in the cabin. Nice going for both of you. For a while there, I didn't think... What is it, 3PO? He is still making muffled noises. Leia goes to him with her finger, cracks the mask of ice covering his face. Oh, that's much better. Thank you, Princess Leia. Do you think it would be too great an annoyance if I were to ask for a little bit of oil to prevent my joints rusting? Hang on a second. There's something I gotta check. Okay, so my throat is actually starting to get a little sore, so I think we'll call a stream for now. But yeah, this has been fun. I want to thank everyone who attended this live stream. I hope you guys had fun too, and I look forward to reading the rest of this. But in the meantime, I'm gonna make myself some tea, probably some green tea, because right now, my throat. I don't think it's that severe, Starlight. I just didn't really I guess I just didn't warm up enough during this. I mean, before this live stream. I haven't been giving myself a lot of time to like read out loud with other things, you know, like reading books, because I like to read books out loud too, because, you know, I'm an actor, and I like to perform the story. But yeah, right now I want to push myself. So hang on, let me just enlarge this. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you all have a good rest of your weekend, okay? And may the force be with you, always. Bye. Thank you for your concern, Starlight.